Hi, my name is Brian Gray. I'm the head mechanic and driver of the number 3 dirt late model here at LSG Race Cars in Hamilton, Ohio. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch the video, and just to let you know, over the next couple of weeks we're going to do a couple of videos here and there and mainly focus on the safety aspects of the sport. I think it's an issue and an area that needs to be addressed, and just try to make this as brief as possible and not too head throbbing on you. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about seat belts, specifically the SFI ratings, the materials they're made of, and why that's important to you. Now, the first one I want to talk about is going to be the SFI spec 16.1. The 16.1 spec is the belt that's going to be found in probably 90% of every race car that is, ran by Saturday night racers and even professionals. This is not a belt that is just garbage to throw away. We're not saying anything like that, but there is also another one, and that is SFI spec 16.5. This is typically what is considered by most racers, and when it's in the catalog, it's listed as the NASCAR belt. What that means is that this is the belt if you're in a NASCAR series, whether it be the Nextel Cup, the Camping World Series, or even the ARCA Remax Series. This is the only belt that is legal to be in your car for that particular racing series. The main difference in these, the 16.1 and the 16.5, have to pass all the stringent tests that are recommended by the SFI Foundation. The 16.5, on the other hand, has to pass a few others, and specifically it is a stretch test that we're going to be concerned with. Most manufacturers, to pass the stretch test and make their belts much stronger and less elastic, are using a polyester webbing in the material. Now what that's doing is, during an impact, when you do hit something, your body's thrust forward in the car and the belt expands out. That is saying that this 16.5 rated belt is going to have less of that, is what it boils down to. Now, why is that important? Well, over time we found that when you're in an accident and your body is thrown forward, the motion, once the energy is dissipated of the belt retracting you and pulling you back into the seat, actually injures many more drivers worse than the initial impact to begin with. So it's real important that you're using a good belt that's made of polyester web that has good forged hardware. Most 16.1 SFI belts do not have forged hardware. They have cast hardware, which is not necessarily an inferior product. I'm sure that it's been tested. They're great. They've protected many people in many accidents. But forged hardware is going to be much stronger, and for anybody that's concerned with weight, this is also going to be a smaller and lighter piece of material in your vehicle. The other thing we want to talk about is maintenance. A lot of people overlook this, and SFI recommends that you replace your belts every 2 years. Some sanctioning bodies say 3, but we're going to tell you replace them every 2, and if you're not going to replace them, have them inspected, recertified, or re-webbed. Many times it's much cheaper to take your belts, send them into the manufacturer. They'll cut the hardware off, replace it for you, much less, new SFI tags, much safer belts all around. Something that everybody should be doing on a weekly basis. Always take a look at the belts, inspect them for any kind of wear, anywhere where the belts are touching. If they're rubbing metal, that's bad. If they're rubbing just about anything, that's a bad thing. You don't want your belts to be rubbing against any metal where they can fray, or that can cause a tear or fracture. Bad news. So check for any contact with any other material in the car. The other thing that I want you to look at every week is the latch. Make sure that this latch locks and stays locked, and also that you can open it without having to put a screwdriver in between. They're very easy to clean. Most manufacturers give you either a set screw on one side, a pin, some sort of device in there. It has a spring and a couple of balls. It's real simple. Take good care of these. Keep them clean. Make sure that they work every week. And last but not least, the mounting of the belts. When you're sitting in the car, the tabs should be mounted just like as if it was held from the bolt to pull against your body. A lot of sanctioning bodies now are recommended that if you use bolt-in hardware, that the bolts are not tight against the bracket, that they have room to swivel some. And there's many manufacturers that sell bushings that go in here. Also, the other thing that you want to check for is to make sure you have the best hardware possible in there. I always recommend using case hardened hardware in anything, especially if you're using hardening hardware on your belts. If this belt is harder than the bolt, this buckle is actually going to wear the bolt out. So that's another area that needs to be inspected at least every year. Keep them clean, keep them out of the weather, replace your belts every 2 years, and inspect it for any other damage. Use the highest SFI rated belt, and always choose a belt that has a polyester web. That's going to be your strongest belt. I hope that this helped everybody, and we'll see you next week.